Greetings, programs. This is Wretch, and welcome back to VTM Night Road. I'm really glad you guys enjoyed the first stream of this one-person VTM campaign. We're going to go ahead and get back to it. First, before we go, though, I want to send some big thanks in the chat and in the video to Vosseros. Vosseros actually gifted me this game. He gave me a lot of recon on what to expect in this game, and he also gave me some really helpful directions when they started doing some updates that actually would have affected the save game. So if you guys enjoy this series, Vosseros is definitely the person to thank for it. Alright, so now that we have got that going, we are here with Elena at the pawn shop, and we are trying to figure out what exactly we need to get. So we can choose between the sword, a real computer, a good suit. I think the car is definitely our first thing. So I'm going to see about getting this BMW 3 series. Now the BMW 3, we kind of looked at pictures of everything. That was the one that was somewhat inconspicuous. We could blend in a little bit easier, I think, from other cars. And it had a trunk, which was quite needed. Should we go ahead and chat up first? Let's see here. Yeah, well, also she has that knife, which we saw in the video, that definitely should interest our Tremere. So let's chat up Elena first. So is that a... what are they called? A Klingon knife? A Tajik? No, Elena says. Her pronunciation is flawless, so just assume that I pronounced that correctly. And you can't afford it. It's solid silver. For killing werewolves, I guess. Her tone says she shouldn't believe in werewolves. Christ, are there werewolves in Tucson? Maybe you should buy it. And I'm not selling it anyway because I think the guy who sold it might actually come back, she says. She unlocks the case and hands you the crooked silver blade. This has to be the one that Tremere was holding in the video. Elena goes back to messing around on her phone. Well, I think we should step into the shadows and confer with the blade with some blood sorcery. Figure out what it is. Tremere Magic. Your sire's approach to thaumaturgy was never conventional, and you picked up all sorts of rituals from outside the narrow confines of the Tremere's broken pyramid. You breathe over the silver blade and watch its edge crawl with red spiderweb patterns. Within, you see Jasper Knowles forging the weapon, eyes wild with the beast as he forces himself to hammer on the blade over an open flame. That was inside Vesuvius. But to your disappointment, you see that the weapon isn't some artifact of Tremere sorcery. Its creation was just a test of Knowles' courage in the face of fire. It might have been important to him, but it's just a silver knife. And then you see the next person to pick it up. Hello, Julian. The Banu Hakim's pale face creases in disappointment. A copy of your own expression. Just a knife, he says. Man, that sucks. Then a shadowy image of Elena examining the knife. And then you snap back into the present. Other than the pawnbroker and now you, Julian Sim was the last person to hold this blade. You gonna kill werewolves or what? Elena says. You return the blade to its case, having learned all you can. So, charisma and leadership. Let's go ahead and look at our stats here and see what we got to work with. Got a little bit of hunger now. Manipulation and intelligence. Streetwise investigation. Wits and streetwise. Intelligence and academics. Like, our charisma isn't... Okay, our academics is at 2. Along with intelligence, that's 6. That should be more than enough. I'm well educated and I know my way around finances, even criminal ones. I use my phone to do some research and learn about Covenant's financing to help me haggle prices down. You work Elena a few careful questions about her financing, just to give you a place to start. She seems more amused than worried by your questions, and soon you have a few search items to enter. Even shying away from Elena's illegal activities, you see all sorts of inefficiencies in her business model. At least you think you do. You only have access to public information like her lease. But when you ask Elena a few questions about where her money is going, you realize that while she's a capable businesswoman, you're just a little bit better. She chews her lip and then says, "Tell you what, you come back tomorrow and log in a shift fixing my payroll, and you promise not to act all weird, and I'll give you a discount." After a little more negotiation, it's a deal, and she agrees to give you a discount right now of 15%. So what's our charisma and leadership, and then charisma and persuasion? Our charisma is 3. Our persuasion is 1. I don't know, persuasion and... charisma and leadership is pretty good. That's 5. I need an ally in this city. I tell Elena that I might be down on my luck now, but I plan to move up fast. My charm and leadership skills can bring her around. Elena laughs and says, "What, are you running for mayor? Do you even have a place to live?" "No, but in a few minutes I'm going to own a car," you say. She smiles. Then you step close and catch her eyes. Her smile falters and she seems to see you differently. "Most people don't look at me like that when they know I have a gun," she says. She's a little scared now, but mostly curious. "You need some sort of, what, a team?" "I might need help," you say. "Are you going to rob a bank?" "Not planning to." "Give me your phone." You watch her carefully, fearing anything that might let someone track you, but she just enters her number. "Don't call me because you want to fuck," she says. You can see her face reflected in her glasses. "But I might call you. Now take a step back, please." Alright, that worked out well, all things considered. So, let's go ahead and kick the tires of that BMW 3. With this car, you can party like it's 1985 because you're pretty sure it was built in 1985. The exterior is gunmetal gray, and inside the leather is dried and cracked like it's suffering from some kind of foot disease. It smells like tobacco, the AC doesn't work, and the back seats are torn and patched with duct tape. Dyrock, thank you very much for that follow. But the bones of the car are excellent. The engine is clean, and it's as fast as the 2 sports cars, almost as maneuverable as a modern vehicle, and more importantly, it's tough as nails. This thing survived Reaganomics and Glasnost. It can survive whatever you crash into. You take it around the parking lot, then around the block a few times with Elena riding shotgun. It's old and a bit rattly, but it accelerates hard, turns well, and it feels solid, like driving a refrigerator with a really good engine. "And all of this can be yours for a meager $630, Elena says. That's such a good deal you check the whole car again. But it looks good. It's the most expensive thing on the lot in your price range, but maybe it's worth it. BMW, speed 2, maneuverability 2, durability 2. Ooh. Well, I guess we can check out all the things, right? Let's check out the 3000 GT. This was a blistering fast car for its price point back in the day, but its day has passed. Still, the Mitsubishi is a big, muscular GTO with excellent acceleration and handling that is, at least, adequate. And it's blood red, inside and out. The problems start, though, when you check under the hood. You can't tell if that circular thing is supposed to be a turbo or some kind of prototype Roomba from the Clinton administration, but it's all fucked up, whatever it is. The electrical is an over-engined nightmare, too. When you take the car out for a spin with Elena riding shotgun, Limp Bizkit's brake stuff almost blows your eardrums out. You can't figure how to stop the CD from playing, so Elena just pops the whole CD player out with a screwdriver. The acceleration is good, but the turbo is wheezy and unpredictable, and the whole car feels like it could fly apart in a hard turn. 450, Elena says when you get back, shoving the CD player back into place. I'll throw in the Korn CDs on the sun visor for free. One of them is live at Woodstock 99. So you can afford it. Okay, 211. So, one more time, let's look at the Honda. First, it's a convertible. There's nothing like feeling the wind in your hair and drying the blood in your teeth. Second, the little Honda is quick for an old car. Not just fast in a straight line like the Mitsubishi, but more maneuverable. Third, it's a bit like your old CRX, just smaller and sportier. Fourth, it's black, inside and out. The cons. Its electrical system is trashed beyond all recognition, and even Elena has to disclose the number of accidents it's been in. You're worried that a ghoul with a golf club and some Vitae could smash this car to pieces, and you're worried it might just burst into flames driving down the interstate. You take it around the parking lot, then around the block a few times with Elena riding shotgun. You make a few stupidly fast turns, and the little convertible does great. Then you spend a few minutes parked, messing with the switches. There are a lot of flickers and sputters, but no showers of sparks. That's good, right? 450, Elena says. I do not offer a warranty. Okay, so we got 221, 222, and 211. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, I don't mind investing. I don't mind making a long-term investment, so I'm thinking maybe the BMW. What do you guys think? Yeah, the Mitsubishi is fitting to break down. I think getting the BMW is going to be a seed that gets us better money down the line, if that makes any sense. I think it'll pay for itself quickly. BMW? Alright. I'll think that's good. Wait, we also had the Nissan Frontier. Never mind. Hold on. The pickup is the newest vehicle on the lot in your price range, though that isn't saying much. It's ugly on the outside, rust-stained and salt-streaked. Can someone drive this thing down from Manitoba? It's not particularly fast, and even though it's fairly new, you know it's going to turn like a 53 Mercury. But all that post-2000 passenger safety know-how counts for something. Pound for pound, the Frontier is as tough as a little BMW, and the Frontier has a lot more pounds. If you find yourself rolling into a gunfight across broken rocks or back in time to fight Vlad the Impaler's heavy infantry, this is the vehicle for you. And it's black. You take the Nissan around the parking lot, then around the block a few times with Elena riding shotgun. There's plenty of room in here. If you ever need to transport something bigger than a manila envelope, like a cursed sarcophagus, this Nissan is perfect. Still, the driving experience is viscerally unpleasant. It's floaty and slow, the visibility isn't as great as you were expecting, and you think something is wrong with the electrical because it doesn't feel like the power steering works right. You're gonna hate driving this thing. But it drives. 315, Elena says. 113. So we got the tank. Yeah, I think we're still sticking with the BMW. There's not a lot of bureaucracy here. You give Elena $630 and she gives you the keys, the registration, and an object she obviously doesn't recognize. The Peter Gabriel mixtape for the BMW's non-functional tape deck. You check the ashtray, but no one left any cocaine. So now, we can get a good suit for infiltrating upscale locales, a real computer, a sword, or firearms. I mean, we've got combat. We could technically get a sword. We don't have anything in firearms. What do you guys think? I'm afraid if we get ourselves a real computer, we'll be able to do more, but we're going to attract some unwanted attention. I don't know if that's going to necessarily be the safest thing for us. I'm kind of torn right now between the sword and the good suit. I don't know if we'll be able to afford said good suit now that we have $273 left, but I think a little bit of protection would probably be good. A blade was mentioned as your weapon of choice. That is true. That's kind of why I'm leaning toward it. Maybe we left the sword in the trunk of the old car. Though you are right, Boss Rose. We should go ahead and go with that. As one of the immortal undead, I obviously need a sword. And I check out my options. Most of Elena's swords are shitty mall katanas that you couldn't use to beat a Chihuahua to death. A few are the real deal, and start at $2,500. But one has a price tag of only $300, meaning you'll pay $240. Elena unlocks the case and hands you a Bavarian M1869. Someone refurbished this, but they also removed the queons. It's supposed to be a bayonet, but now it's almost like a machete with a better balanced blade. And the balance is really good. You flick it through the air a few times, getting a feel for it. Now this is a vampire stopper. Heavy enough to chop through limbs or necks, it's nonetheless a precision instrument, relying on your agility and training. Is it authentic, you ask? You actually don't care because unlike everyone else who comes here, you might actually need to kill someone with this thing. Well, it was, Elena says, until the guy who used it to own this place cut off the, what's the word? The handguard part so he could practice eskrima with it. Eskrima. Unfortunately, you can't afford it right now. Okay, I've got 270. Yeah, let's see what the suit runs. An actual good suit would be useful for infiltrating upscale locales. What does this place have? People around here don't seem to pawn clothes as often as they pawn guns, power tools, and Blu-rays of Click, but you discover a small collection of decent clothes, and an even smaller selection of really good clothes. Nice men's suits that aren't too far out of fashion, from good brands. Don't know how to say that. The Susinelli? It's too big around the shoulders, but the ring jacket suit in medium gray fits so well, you won't even need to get it tailored. You're a long way from anywhere nice enough to need that, Elena says. That's why it's all only $405. And most important of all, you can afford it. No, we can't. Only got $273, man. Game was wrong. I think they got that in the sword flip-flopped. Let's check the real computer. I don't care about the gun. I need a real computer, not just a flip phone with half its features missing. I'm going to do anything fast and useful online. Data intrusion is an increasingly important aspect of modern life. You can't do everything just by calling up the front desk and pretending to be the password inspector. Trailed by Elena, you inspect the heaps of laptops, tablets, and hybrids. You know that any computer you buy will only be a shell into which you pour your own expertise and torrented software. But nothing you see combines portability with flexibility in quite the way you need. Then you spot an odd mini laptop on the counter. My work, Elena says as you flip open the Raspberry Pi laptop. There's a finished version on a nearby shelf, but you're not interested in someone's personal machine. You want something you can shape yourself. You boot it up. It's fast. It has a ridiculous number of ports for its size. What's the Wi-Fi password? You ask. Elena taps a plastic sign. The connection is strong. It feels solid too, despite how light it is. Damn, you're a little bit in love. How much? You ask. $5.40, Elena says. No refunds. I'll throw in a trash bag full of cables and peripherals. No refunds on them either. And most important of all, you can afford it. Lies. And why not? Check out the firearms. You don't want to drive around with a rifle or a shotgun, so you scan the pistols and revolvers. Most are cheap, badly maintained, or overpriced. A few are all three. But finally you spot a Springfield Armory XDM behind a Sig Sauer you can't afford. $360, Elena says, handing you the 45 so you can check how it feels. It looked bulky in the case, but it settles easily into your hands. Elena watches you as you rack the slide and sight down the barrel. You need something bigger to knock down a vampire, or even an old and powerful ghoul, but this is the perfect anti-human weapon. One round will take a regular mortal out of the fight, and it fits under your silkscreen jacket without being too obvious. And most importantly, you can afford it, which we can't. Yeah, the game is trolling us. So we are definitely going to go ahead and buy the sword. You check the edge one last time. It's razor sharp despite its age. Elena even has a scabbard. Its leather isn't in good condition as the hilt, but it'll keep you from cutting your legs open. You can't walk around Tucson with a cutlass at your hip, but you have an old nylon rucksack with an easy access zipper, and you sling it across your shoulder. We got $3 left, people. I'm done shopping for now. It's 2:16 according to your knockoff Tissot, and when you pull out of the Covenant pawn shop in your new BMW 3 Series, and sunrise is 6:29 a.m. It's still early, so you drive around for an hour just to find the cheapest gas stations and the fastest ways out of town. Then you accelerate smoothly onto East Broadway Boulevard near a plasma center and head for the garage address you got earlier. When a shadow crosses the hood of your BMW, you look up and catch a glimpse of a wing eclipsing a streetlight. Was that Prince Leteau's eagle? You find your spot in the underground parking garage. Right in front of it is a metal door with a keypad. You grab everything from your BMW, lock it, and enter the code. Inside is an office with peeling linoleum floors, an ancient metal desk with a rusty mini-fridge on it, and a sleeping bag. A short tile corridor ends in a jury-rigged shower and a drain. There's a clear plastic bag and some toiletries on the tile, and a bottle of 409 that won't do anything against the smell of mildew. There's no Wi-Fi. Still, it's better than sleeping in an abandoned semi-trailer, and your phone actually gets good reception. Even better, there are escape routes into the sewers that you can use. You loosen the grates and make sure you have a clear route into the sewers in case you're exposed. You're just getting settled when you hear your door lock beep. The metal door opens, and there's Julian Sim. Okay, let me go ahead and put this on loop. All right. A new personal low, Julian says. He's wearing a Glitch t-shirt and a smile. He starts to enter, then looks down and says, "You have to invite me in." I play it cool, but I smell an opportunity here. Julian was always brilliant. Fine. Enter freely and of your own free will. Now what do you want? Like always, Wretch, I want to help, Julian says, stepping inside and glancing back at your BMW. Then he tosses you a tiny webcam. This was in your ceiling, by the way. Give me your phone and I'll take care of the tracking there. He looks so young, you think he just wanders in and out of your shitty crash pad, sweeping for bugs. Or you think as he wanders. For some reason, you expected him to age. You look at yourself in your BMW side view mirror. You haven't aged either. Man, it's been a while, Julian says, leaning against your doorframe. I remember the nights we spent keeping that elder asleep with offerings of blood, the days curled up together in the desert. Wasn't it romantic? Hey, Lennox. Hey, Susan. Or Suzanne. Let's, Oh, thank you for that gift sub. Oh, to Lennox? That's your 50-second gift sub on the channel, Suzanne. Holy crap. That never happened, Julian. You made up our relationship and tried to sell it as a novel until the Prince of Tucson threatened to execute you. Vampire romance was big at the time, Julian says with a shrug. And I changed our names. I still don't know why no one wanted to buy it, but I wasn't just writing vampire erotica for money. I had a plan. Which brings me to your clan, and the things they get up to in their research. I've been working with Jasper Knowles lately. Terrible what happened to Jasper. Of course, it's also terrible what he did to that sewer rat. And that Outlander. And that... Anyway. What's worse is that lately I've been working with Jasper. Not canite to canite, but man to man, as it were. Of course, Jasper went and screwed it all up with his experiments, and I had to get rid of his... Julian studies you for a moment, and then his eyes widen. You found the damn knife, he says. You're too clever for your own good. You're starting to monologue, Julian. That's a dangerous habit. Why don't you just tell me what you want to, or tell me what you want me to know? Hard living's made you dull, Wretch, the Banu Hakim says. Fine. Since the Convention of Thorns, the Masquerade has protected us from mortal scrutiny. We hide what we are. We live in the shadows, but that can't last. He tosses the USB webcam up and down. The Second Inquisition should have taught us that. One day soon, humans will learn the truth. This is inevitable. Do you know why Jasper Knowles decided to end his experiments with that Nosferatu? Because someone filmed it when it got out. Then he called me to turn the video from a Masquerade breach into a trailer to a new student horror film. I had to fake some date stamps, but the Tremere paid me well. That's going to happen more and more, Wretch. And eventually it's going to be happening every night. All the time. Always on. Constant streaming. You must stop offering a hard wall against this inevitability and start creating a guided path for the mortals. So you're talking about a whole new way that humans will be forced to view the world. That's ambitious, Julian. And fascinating. I want my big weakness for this character to be his curiosity. That's probably going to kill him, but it's alright. Again. I'm glad you're interested, Julian says. This is all speculative, of course. Anything real is years away, but we need to begin now. Honestly, we should have begun the moment people got camcorders, but we might still have time. Tomorrow, now that you have this beautiful machine, Julian says, banging the hood of your BMW, Prince Leto will give you one of 3 USBs. Would you like to know what's on them? He doesn't let you answer. One warns the Bruja Patermuster about renovations to his hospital that will expose his followers. One informs the Tremere NVIDIA call that her mentor Jasper Knowles is dead and that her funding is cut off because her facility's contacts with mundane biomedical research firms threaten the Masquerade. And one tells the Ventru Ellen Olive Crona that the Second Inquisition is coming for her little prison buffet down on the border. Wherever you go, the people there will use you, or destroy you, to escape what's coming. And it's all happening because of Jasper's experiments. So why are you telling me this? I absolutely don't trust Julian, but once he starts talking, it's not like there's any way to stop him. So you can survive. So you can help me in the first phase of my work, and so you can stop the Second Inquisition. That's all. I won't even ask you to work against Prince Leto or the Camarilla. Just watch for the SI. But first, let me demonstrate how disposable you are to the Prince. Now think back to what I taught you. Where's the best place to begin, Wretch? The walls? Leto's thralls? His pet bird, Riga? Another damn test. Julian used to love these. But your relationship with the Camarilla and its traditions is cool at best, and Julian always had a knack for spotting spies. He watches you as you look around your little garage. Okay. Int plus technology, wits and survival. I know Dex ain't going to be part of it. Wit and survival, int and technology. Int. Okay, so that would be 5. What was the other one? Wit and survival. I don't have anything in wits. Zzz. Dex and clans. Okay, so our best option would definitely be int and technology. Let's do some technical analysis on that webcam. I flip open my phone and start scrutinizing the camera. Instead of waiting inside, Julian sweeps your BMW for bugs. Once he's done, he doesn't say anything even as sunrise approaches and you continue to work. You unscrew the webcam and check the serial numbers of its individual parts. Using your phone, you trace some of those serial numbers to domestic suppliers, then to defense contractors. You recognize some of these names from your time with Julian. These are SI suppliers, you whisper. Exactly, Julian says. So either the SI installed that webcam or Prince Leto's people installed it unaware of its provenance. Which is worse? Or Julian is lying from top to bottom in order to manipulate you. He takes out his phone, checks the time, and frowns a little. You're going to need better security than this if you stay here, he says. What are you going to rig up? Cameras? Poison gas, like we used in Fort Worth? Old-timey runes of warding painted in blood? Despite the late hour, it takes a while to get Julian off the subject of security. Finally, he drops his voice and says, You need to be ready for the SI, Wretch. He glances up at you, his pale face illuminated by his phone, and says, They're not as smart as they think they are, but they're still pretty smart. They're piecing things together. Anyway, I've been thinking about Alia. Ooh. So we diablerized an elder. Interesting. Let's not speak of those we lost. I still remember the incredible, perverse sense of power when I drank Alia's ancient blood, though I won't give Julian the pleasure of admitting it. I'm glad you understand what power looks like, Wretch, Julian says. When I was young, I thought knowledge was power. My embrace taught me that power is power. I think the diablerie of Alia taught you the same thing. It's true. You can still feel her stolen strength, and sometimes, especially when the hunger is upon you, you can still hear her thoughts screaming through your withered veins. It's almost sunrise, Julian says, checking his phone again. I'm late for prayer. He slips a business card out of his glitch hoodie and says, with my usurper contact dead, my old Denver company, 2100X, is on hiatus, but I'm still thinking about the future, the 22nd century. Think about that, Wretch. It's a sort of blank spot in our imagination. I mean, human imagination, too. We talked about the 21st century as kids. We can still, in a way, imagine the far future. But what's coming? What's it going to be like 80 or 100 years from now? Because I plan to be there. And I want your help. You're getting the impression that the Camarilla wants you. Maybe Prince Leteau just wants you as a patsy in case the Second Inquisition hits him like the fist of God, but he hasn't mistreated you yet. And you know that kindred of the Camarilla do not serve two masters. Ooh. Calm plus subterfuge. So we have two we can basically say charisma and intimidation and tell him no in no uncertain terms. Let's see. Calm plus subterfuge? Aw. Here's a donation to make the donation total a nice, neat number. Also, did you know there's a new VTM Bloodlines game coming out? Thank you, Lennox. I appreciate that, boss. Let me go ahead and get that updated. So, 8/21. No, thank you, Lennox. Thank you for supporting the kids and supporting the channel. So that's going to put us at 8,376. Dollars for the kids. Good stuff. All right. So, calm, our composure. So our composure and subterfuge. Which would be 3. We don't have any subterfuge. No subterfuge. Charisma plus intimidation. 3, 4. I don't know. I'll call you. I commit the card to memory, but I'm hedging, not committing one way or another. You can't just... Julian says, momentarily losing his equilibrium. But then he leans back, squeezing the bridge of his nose. Of course you can, he says. I'm sorry. Dawn is near, and you know how I get. Will you be okay here, Wretch? You shrug. Well, if you're not, call me, he says, nodding to the card he gave you. And text me before you leave tomorrow night. He hands you a card with information about how to reach him, the motel where he's staying, and the location of a drop box. There's a little glyph like a knife doodled on the card. A karambit, he says. I'm not exactly a regular member of Clan Banu Hakim, but that's what I'm using instead of the old 2100 logo to mark my holdings. No name yet, just the mark. Look for it, Wretch. Then he opens the door to your little office room, scans the shadows, and disappears down the garage in no evident hurry despite the proximity of sunrise. The metal door swings shut. You let the shock of Julian Sim's return fade, then check your knockoff watch as you take it off. It's 6:20 a.m. You secure the door, drop the deadbolt, and strip out of your courier's outfit. You don't even have time for a shower, so you just unroll the sleeping bag and make sure your phone is charging. You dream of flying high over the Alps at night, the roar of a single-seater engine in your ears, a silk scarf wrapped around your throat to keep off the cold, though you are already colder than anything else in these skies. Your dream shifts to a huge moon over a city you know so well that no name comes to mind, all turquoise domes and tall towers, black against the midnight sky. And in the same city, except it is only a village. Low mud huts, donkeys, children laughing. It's morning, and the sun feels hot against your back and your bare limbs. Not dreams. Memories. And one last memory, one that you know isn't yours. You remember forcing your eyes open after years of darkness and looking up at two eager fledglings. One from your own clan, one Clan Tremere. You remember watching frozen as the Tremere's fangs slide out. You open your eyes for real and check your phone. It's 5:49 p.m. Sunset. Alia is asleep again. Your fangs are protruding. You shake your head until they go away, though you keep remembering the coating of dust on the elder's throat as you sank your teeth into her. You shower, scraping the last of the filth out from under your fingernails. Then you decide where you're going. You don't want to keep Prince Leto waiting as you make a decision. Your first stop will be... I definitely want to take care of the sire first. And see what's going on there. So just different ways of going about it. My sire, NVIDIA, had a research facility on a ranch in I don't know. Where do you think we should go, guys? Should we go to the refugee camp so we can get into the blood trade? We got St. Basil's and make some new contacts potentially? Or do we go see our sire? There's a lot of different ways we can go about it. We'll enjoy meeting our sire anew. Why not? Okay, so we're going to Kiowa National Grassland, New Mexico. The homeland. Actually, it is the homeland. That's fortuitous. I bet she's conducting some interesting research. Chapter 4. Kiowa, Xenogenetics. Tucson, Arizona, night of November 6th. Sunrise, 6:45 a.m. You drive the BMW around your parking lot a few times, getting a feel for it as the light comes on all over Tucson. The gray sedan feels shakier than during your test drive, and there's a lot of rust and interior damage. Still, when you drop the hammer, the little BMW picks right up to speed, and it still feels tough and solid in the sea of Chevy Silverados and Ford Raptors you weave through as you head uptown. You spot the Viper nightclub, accelerate hard, and scream to a halt outside. It's still early and the party won't start for hours, but Leto is already awake. You see his eagle, Riga, perched nearby. You double-check your maps. A few minutes later, a mortal flunky in an Ed Hardy shirt runs up to your BMW with a portable push-button lockbox. You peel out. In a 9-hour drive, and you've researched motels and abandoned buildings starting in Albuquerque in case traffic or trouble leaves you stranded. Fortunately, traffic is light. You speed east on the 10 and pass the spot where you ditched your Honda CRX. Idly curious, you spend 20 minutes exploring the abandoned filling station, but the white is long gone. Julian texts you as you're heading back to your car. She's going to turn you into a newt when she learns the Eagles cut her off. Before you can respond, another text. Get her on our side, or try to recruit her scholars, scientists, etc. I need good people, and unlike some usurpers I could name, I don't spit acid at people when I lose my temper. An hour later, he texts, learn everything you can about the facility. Collect blood samples if possible. I hear she's captured a witch. I don't believe in witches, but check it out anyway. 20 minutes later, a final text. Obviously, your phone is compromised now. Drop it off in the bathroom on the next Shell station. Don't destroy the SIM card. There's a replacement under the sink. Wow. He's got his act together, doesn't he? A few more minutes up the road, you spot the Shell station. You pull in and do what you're told. The new phone is another disposable burner. Julian, you realize, isn't hiding from the Second Inquisition. He's using what they think they know to move them around the board, in a game you don't fully understand. A few minutes later, you pass a garage marked with Julian's karambit and make a mental note of its location. The hard copy map on your dashboard insists that you're going from one town to the next, but you don't see anything. Just the road and distant lights. From the highway, even Albuquerque is just a blur of low buildings and exit ramps. Oh, Moonyan, thank you very much for gifting that tier 1 sub. To Random, thanks for supporting the channel and supporting the kids. Albuquerque is just a blur of low buildings and exit ramps. Past Santa Fe, the landscape grows more lush, with scrubby trees lining the highway and the distant hills dotted with green. Subtle hues visible to your sensitive eyes. The drive takes you through lots of towns named after bigger towns. The landscape grows rocky and pale cliffs rise beside the road. You stop at the last all-night gas station to fill your BMW's tank, then head into a wild and ungoogled landscape that stretches flat all the way to St. Louis for all you know. There's no radio out here, so you try to enjoy the sound of the engine, because you don't want anything on your disposable phones. No trouble, though. No tails, no weird unmarked cars, no circling eagles. For now. Researching NVIDIA Call has been difficult, even with Julian's interest in recruiting her. Despite being her child, you know little of her history. She began her unlife assisting one of your clan's most well-regarded warlocks. When the Beckoning lured elders to the Middle East and the Second Inquisition destroyed the Tremere's most important chantry in Vienna, she grabbed as many resources as she could and fled into the desert. She's always dreamed of breeding animals with human-quality blood, and it appears to be her latest project. You're not sure if she's been successful, but you know that her facility, Kiowa Xenogenetics, has connections to biomedical firms all over the world. Too many connections, in fact. Those connections don't exactly represent a breach of the Masquerade, but the whole situation is too close to daylight for Prince Leto's liking. No wonder he's shutting her down. He'd probably wipe KXG off the map if he could. She isn't going to like that, and vampires tend to shoot the messenger. You pass an old mining village, abandoned since cowboy times, and stop to mark its location on the map. A few buildings might offer you cover from the sun if things go badly. There are no signs, and the fence looks just like all the others, but you know you're close when the road gets better. When you spot a headlight in the distance, you instinctively kill your BMW's lights and pull over. 2 Kawasaki ATVs rumble down a side road. Men with rifles and helmets ride the ATVs. They look like Border Patrol, but you know they're private security. Good ones, too, if those bolt-action Badrock rifles are anything to go by. Those are guns for people who don't miss. One shot would drop a buffalo. Or a vampire. You're just wondering whether to turn your lights back on and introduce yourself, since you have all the paperwork in order, when the guards take off, followed by a low-flying quadcopter drone. Another mile down the road, you spot the sheep. They look like regular sheep, except they wear tracking collars and they have 4-digit numbers painted on one flank. These must be NVIDIA's Xenogenetic specimens. You remember Julian's text. He'd like a sample. He's been courteous so far, but you haven't really impressed him. Maybe this is an opportunity. You're not sure you want to sink your fangs into one of the Xeno sheep, but there are other animals about. Now might be a good time to hunt. So we have an opportunity here to feed, like in general. What's our hunger at right now? Our hunger is at 4. I think we definitely need to just take time to feed. We could go ahead and extract some blood, but I don't think that's going to be particularly useful to us right now. It would be nice to get stuff for Julian, but if we keep on pressing our luck, we're going to frenzy, especially with folks hanging out with rifles that could drop us in one shot. So, I'm going to go ahead and just look for regular animals and not the thaumaturgic experiments. Just as you hop out of the car and stretch your legs, the xenogenetic sheep hurry away into the underbrush. You check the eastern sky. You made good time, and you still have a few hours before dawn, but there's a lot of territory out here. You need a plan. You check your sword, because while you have a blood and tissue kit, you also need a sharp blade to bag something worth drinking. Okay, so we got wits and survival, res and awareness, and res and drive. Res and awareness. Do I have awareness? Yes. Well, that's 4. I hope that's enough. How gangrel are you? The answer is not. 4 at best. I'll have to be patient, but my keen senses will let me sniff out prey when the wind changes. The antelope doesn't see you coming until it's too late. 3 quick strides and you're up atop it. Its legs kick uselessly at the dust, then you sink your fangs into its neck. It relaxes in your embrace. You cradle the animal as you drain it dry. In less than a minute, it's a withered bag of skin and fur. You wipe your lips and return to your car, as satisfied as a vampire can ever be with animal blood. But when you're done, you realize that sunrise is less than an hour away. You force yourself to remain calm as you hurry back to your BMW and race along the well-maintained road toward Dr. Call's facility. Alright, we got 2 hunger gone. I think that was the right call. Dr. Call's facility consists of several structures. You see a long, low building of green glass and white concrete, trailers for the long-term personnel, and a parking lot. There's also a little outdoor coffee shop with a patio. Behind the main building is a refurbished ranch, a garage for the ATVs, and a landing strip for light aircraft. A high chain link fence dotted with security cameras surrounds most of the facility. Quadcopter drones drift overhead as you stop at the main gate. You probably look nervous as sunrise approaches, but the woman guarding the yellow gate takes one look at your laminated introductory letter and immediately buzzes you through. "You go on ahead to the intersection," she says, "and turn right. There's a trailer waiting for you, number 23. The trailer is clean and blandly furnished except for the thick maroon drapes, which look like they were borrowed from a castle. They completely blot out the sun, though it still feels safer to sleep in the made-up storage space under the table than on the bed. Your sire knows you're here, but you don't have time to worry just yet. The moment the sun crosses the horizon, you're asleep. Your first thought when you rise is they're not going to let you through security with your sword. Even your fancy laminated letter won't let you walk around armed. Once you're dressed and cleaned up, you check out security. It isn't as scary as the ATV patrols. It's just one guy with a holstered pistol next to a metal detector. He's watching his laptop in a big atrium with shiny faux marble walls and lots of glass. It's probably busy during the day, but right now it's quiet, though not deserted. Outside the main facility is a detached security office and a little cafe. There's a gap between them where the fence doesn't cover, though there are cameras everywhere in that direction. You consider what to do. So we can go ahead and put our weapons into the car, or we could use Dominate and compel the guard to keep it. What do you guys think? I mean, we were our sire's, like, fix-it man. You know what I mean? I figure we should be able to get through there with weapons, but that letter just isn't going to cut it. And the sword can cut things, but it's not going to give us that option. Put everything into the car for a quick getaway? I don't know. It's like we just got our hunger stats. The use of Dominate may force the hunger to 4. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm kind of be like, I'm not sure. Looks like I have to leave my sword, but I'm not happy about it. I put everything in my car for a quick getaway. You drop your knockoff Tissot and other metal accoutrements into the waiting plastic bin and pass through the medical detector without incident. The guard barely looks up. You enter a circular room illuminated by a giant red hologram of a hemoglobin molecule. It's labeled KXG, Kiowa Xenogenetics. A party is in full swing. 20 scientists and technicians are chatting, drinking wine from fancy glasses, or gathered around a baby grand piano where a man in a tweed jacket is playing ragtime. A whiteboard reads, "Congratulations, Dr. Takahashi, on your..." and then a complex formula. You spot a few equations you recognize from your academic studies, but whatever Dr. Takahashi discovered, it's beyond your immediate grasp. "You must be the courier," a young woman says. "My name is Vani Anand. Dr. Kahl will be here in a few minutes. Until then, help yourself to some wine. And I apologize beforehand if anyone badgers you. We're trapped in here for months at a time like Antarctic researchers, and anyone new is interesting." Vani isn't really dressed for a party. She's wearing a loose-fitting work shirt full of pens and notebooks, though she put on gold earrings that sometimes gleam red in the holographic light. Before you can chat, Vani gets a text and excuses herself, leaving you at the edge of the party. You scan the crowd, contemplating how to make a good first impression with these people. Your sire will react badly to the information you're carrying, and you don't want your behavior here to make her mood even worse. Scan the crowd for threats, any weird sorcery on display. I'm always interested in the weird stuff. Why not? Flirt! The weirdest thing is that hologram. You're not sure how it's being generated. A Masquerade violation or just weird tech? You're not sure. Most of the scientists look well off and well fed. There's an old money smell to a lot of them, from the WASP doctors listening to ragtime on the piano to the comfortable looking computer scientists, most of them immigrants from India and Pakistan. Everyone seems pleased with themselves and a little bored. Everyone except one red-haired woman who skulks in the shadows, pale and sullen looking. She has the wan look of a blood doll, but her blue eyes are hard and wild as a trapped wolf's. She wears a long moss-green cardigan that she keeps pulling down over her wrist and silver rings with occult symbols. You only read part of her shirt under the cardigan. Ec.2, ace tradit. Latin. The Tremere are sorcerers, but they normally hide better than this. No wonder Prince Leto wants this place shut down. You consider whom to approach and what you want. Potential allies for you and Julian? To uncover the secrets of this place? Perhaps to gain the power needed to understand what's happening here? Or maybe you should just try to put Dr. Call in a good mood for your inevitable meeting. Okay. So... wits and awareness. Investigation. Intelligence and academics is still going to be our strongest thing. At 6. I corner that witch and impress her with my knowledge of the occult. I need powerful allies, and I want to know more about this place. The redhead looks at you up and down, and her face flashes through a dozen expressions in a second. Hate, fear, longing, contempt, fascination. She's insane, but there are 1,000 ways to go insane out here, and you don't know exactly what's wrong with her. She finally settles on an expression of cool contempt. When she plants her hands on her hips, you can read her entire t-shirt. Reject technocracy. Embrace tradition. So this is the witch. The traditions are the factions in Mage, and the technocracy are pretty much the bad guys to the mages. Her wrists are covered in intricate scars. So, she says, what the hell are you? Whoever this woman is, she's seen enough that the Masquerade doesn't apply to her. A courier, you say. You scan the iconography of her rings, noting everything familiar. And you are unexpected. I see symbols for Lilith and the Bahari, Futhark runes, Hermetic alchemy, Duran Key sorcery, but I don't know how you expect them to fit together. No. There's no knowledge, leech. There's only the will. Oh shit. It's a mage. Julian told you what to do if you ever came across a real one, so you turn and get ready to run. But then you turn back and look the witch in the eyes. Something's been scooped out. It takes you a moment to recognize that particular kind of emptiness and despair. You've been bloodbound, you say. Drink the blood of the same vampire 3 times, and you belong to that vampire. It doesn't matter if you're a bank teller, a witch, or Cain himself. This woman used to be more, but now she's just one of your sire's servants. Determined to protect her pride, the witch says, I work with Dr. Call. For Dr. Call. I make the snow for the snow room. She then starts muttering to herself, dark and angry. You take a step back as the scientists watch the witch with disgust and fear. The snow room? Interesting. Ah, there you are, Vani says, appearing at your side and taking you by the shoulder. Vani and the witch lock gazes. Vani isn't the one who backs down. She steers you away from the red-headed woman. Giselle is dangerous, she says. Stay away from her. Why? You ask. Because she used to be something more than the rest of us, Vani says. And now she's something much less. She came here to destroy Dr. Call, and Nvidia destroyed her instead. To destroy Dr. Call, not kill her. Sounds like Vani knows who employs her. Hello, Wretch, a cool and professional voice says. Dr. Call still sounds like she's the voice of a computer assistant. She's dressed for the celebration, in a long red and black dress. It takes your eyes a moment to resolve the serpents and wolves that form the design. She holds out her black-gloved hand for you to shake. Or kiss. You decide to shake. She smiles and then takes you by the chin and turns your face back and forth. You should eat more. Your sire pulls you into a shadowy corner and checks your teeth, then takes in your clothes and shakes her head. She has the same flapper bob you remember. Her dark face has thick, expressive eyebrows that bounce around whenever she talks. There's always a strange juxtaposition. Nvidia's animated and friendly face contrasted with her flat, chillingly hypnotic voice. You smell fresh blood. Not on her lips, on her fingers, under the gloves. Dr. Call glances at the party and tells them, I just have a little more work to do and then I'll be out to socialize. Under her breath, she says, Wretch, follow. Now. You follow the smell of blood. Nvidia takes you through a smoky glass door with a light that turns from red to green at her approach. You follow her down a corridor to a storage room. The door slides open to reveal a man with his guts hanging out, and another man in a lab coat trying to hold him down. It looks like the man has been shot in the chest by a high-caliber weapon, like the rifles the ATV patrols carry. Wretch, help Dr. Takahashi hold Miguel down, Dr. Call says, removing her black velvet gloves to reveal long black nails and opening a silver tray full of scalpels. You don't give Miguel good odds. He's already lost a ton of blood, and unless your sire or Dr. Takahashi is prepared to work some heavy sorcery, he'll be dead in minutes. Oh, that's a bad idea. That is a bad idea. That right there, the man is dying and you drain him of blood. That right there is one of those ones that you cause the storyteller to just go, you know what I mean? Like, that's one of those. I have had so many of my friends who played VTM with me when I was storytelling make that decision. So no, we are not going to drain him of blood. And I'm very curious to see what's going on here, so I burned down the inn, yes. Might as well make a good first impression. I helped Dr. Takahashi hold the dying man down. You cross the room and grab the dying man by the shoulders, keeping his arms still. Dr. Takahashi edges around you and grabs his legs. The bullet is still in there, Dr. Call says. Does anyone else know about this? Just the god who found him, Dr. Takahashi says. And he doesn't know about... You don't hear the rest of it, as Dr. Call slices the man's stomach open and he screams. She grabs a small pair of forceps and carefully removes the large caliber bullet. Surprised it didn't go right through, Dr. Call says. She studies the bullet. Not one of our rifles. The dying man tries to say something, but blood bubbles out of his mouth. To their credit, Dr. Call and Dr. Takahashi go through a complete resuscitation attempt, but it's useless. He is dead. Dr. Takahashi looks pale, but you expect he's seen worse things. He examines the corpse, then says, I'll perform an autopsy. I guess I'll be missing my party. Of course not. I can do it, Dr. Call says, with the same concern for the feelings of regular mortals that you remember from your apprenticeship. No, NVIDIA. They want to see you. They already have my research. I know that you have other things to worry about. He glances at you. So who shot this guy? I'd like to know if I'm next. My chief of security is already investigating, Call says. We may not be able to find who did it, but I suspect I know Miguel here was why Miguel here was killed. He was one of Prince Lato's retainers. She searches the dead man's pockets until she finds a card for the Viper nightclub with a 4-digit code written on the back. Give me what you brought, she says. You hand her the lock that Prince Lato's flunky gave you in the Viper parking lot. She punches the code on the card into the lock and it opens, revealing a stack of microfiche, like something out of an old spy movie. Get people you trust to move the body, NVIDIA tells Dr. Takahashi. I want a full report by tomorrow night. Wretch, come with me. Everyone in the spill zone knows what we are, she says, pointing to a sign that resembles hands spilling something out of a bowl. She ushers you through another silent sliding door into a stark, minimalist chamber with hexagonal white floor tiles and cool white walls. Artifacts of sorcery are visible behind frosted glass or in clutches atop hard plastic pedestals. You see mummy fragments and incunabula, fragmentary scrolls, and broken amulets. There's a diagram of the California Stonehenge they found a few years back. You've heard of that, since kindred say it's some kind of ritual site. The far side of the room contains a Louis XIV escritoire, a shaker table with a phonograph and an apparatus for reading wax cylinders, and a microfilm reader. A hidden logic governs the arrangement of these artifacts, you're sure. NVIDIA scans the Latin document Prince Lato prepared for her and tosses it on an end table. Vanni, her assistant, places it carefully on a coffee table so her mistress won't lose it. Two studious-looking and handsome young men lounge on the couches nearby, reading books in an obscure dialect of Mongolian. House Tremere stole that text from the Wu Ling in 984 AD. You're hungry, Wretch, NVIDIA says. And I don't like hungry kindred wandering around my domain. Please, enjoy Renee or Sonam. Renee is a doctoral student in robotics, and Sonam is an occultist from London by way of a small village in Bhutan. In a year I will choose one of them. Renee, Sonam, this is Wretch, whose failures I described to you before. Hi, Wretch, they both say. Until I decide on one, your sire tells you, Renee and Sonam provide what sustenance and diversion they can. 3 more scholars sit around a nearby table, and Bonnie is there as well, typing something on a laptop, but apparently they're off limits. So, we're going to get our hunger taken care of, which is nice. So, I assume this is going, if we... Man, that is going to make our blood sorcery awesome. So what do you guys think? Should we eat the robotics guy and probably get another dot in technology? Or do we drink from the occultist and get another dot, I guess, in academics? And that would max out our academics. I thought about that, Vosros. I was like, oh, we're about to eat a book. Max out academics and start rounding out all the other stats. That's what I would do normally if I was playing. It's not how it works. Well, you know. That would be cool. An occultist. I wonder how his blood tastes. I try him. You take your time with Sonam as NVIDIA prepares the microfilm. As always, she scrupulously avoids watching anyone else feed, just as she never lets anyone see her feed. Prepares the microfiber, discreetly looking away as you feed. Okay. That was worded weird. Did Prince Leto tell you what news I should expect? She says. Because I already know what happened to Jasper Knowles. He was a friend and a colleague, but I had to sever ties with him when I learned he was experimenting on kindred. We all must draw a line in the sand somewhere. Still, I will miss him. Ooh. Awesome. Dr. Call washes her bloody hands in a sink, and then carefully cleans a garnet ring that flashes with thaumaturgic power to your sensitive eyes. Vani hands her a lab coat. You think quickly as your sire twists the knobs on the reader and starts reading the first page of Prince Leto's document rescinding her authority to operate this facility. You should probably say something to soften the blow. Or should you use this moment of vulnerability to extract more information about the snow room? What is it, Doctor? Renee asks. He and Sonam approach the reader, Sonam leaning on Renee. A few other scholars wander in, talking quietly among themselves about occult or scientific matters, but they keep a cautious distance from Dr. Call. Only Vani is willing to get close. Manipulation and leadership. Okay, that's 5. Composure and subterfuge. I think we're still 0 on subterfuge. That ain't gonna work. And then it was intelligence and technology. So 5 and 5. So 2 of these options we can definitely do. So should we lead her slowly toward the revelation? Do we basically let her down gently, or do we try and farm her for knowledge before she gets mad? Because that could definitely... farm her for knowledge, says Lilani. I do like those books. I miss the Bloodlines philosophy of just reading books and getting dots and skills. lots of good memories there. Well, if she explodes into a rage around her blood dolls, that's really not my... It's not my concern, necessarily. I think we should probably farm her, hoping she reveals something interesting. She's not going to be happy either way, so... Let's see what happens here. This may be the wrong call. You distract her long enough to ask about the snow room, and she says, "How do you know about that? Vani, make sure Dr. Takahashi hasn't been getting drunk and chatting with the regular scientists again." "Yes, ma'am," Vani says. After you ask her a few more pointed questions about what you've already overheard, questions that indicate an impressive understanding of medical science, your sire says, "Last year, a witch came to kill me. As you know, Clan Tremere was once House Tremere, a cabal of mortal wizards. Many of those wizards still hate us, and so do their allies. Witches, occultists, other mortal riffraff. One of them decided to test my defenses. She belongs to me now, a blood-bound servitor. Her slavish devotion to me has all but destroyed her power, but she and I have been working off and on to transfer her arts into a framework that Clan Tremere can employ. She studies you for a moment. You know, a devoted child might even be permitted to learn more about this subject. Her gaze returns to the microfiber reader, or microfilm reader. You feel her rage building as she reads, and consider what to say. She's impressed by your scientific acumen. You wonder if you can strike some sort of deal. But just as you start to make a proposal, Renee, who's been reading along over Invidia's shoulder, touches her arm and says, "It's going to be okay, Invidia." Okay. You think this is okay? She stands up and slaps Renee, knocking the much larger man to the tiled floor. After a moment's thought, you know what you might be able to say before her beast breaks free. It's a long shot, but you can offer your scientific skills as an intermediary. That offer might calm her down. Calm down! Sonam yells. That wasn't what to say. Oh yeah, that's the last thing you say when a woman is upset. Invidia grabs Sonam's skull. Blood runs from beneath her fingernails. Alchemically, that word, transformed. It smokes and fulminates like acid. Sonam can't even scream as the flesh drips off his skull. The other occultists scream in horror and drop their books, running for the exits. But when the corrosive steam... I'm just saying from experience. Just from experience. I'm not saying anything that isn't true. But when the corrosive steam rising from Sonam's corpse reaches the ceiling, the facility's fire detectors go off and a massive security door starts to close. An ear-spitting alarm goes off. Your sire turns, both hands dripping with corrosive acid that blackens the tiled floor. You're familiar with her rages, but this sorcery is new and terrible. You throw yourself behind a couch as Invidia lashes out with her corrosive blood. The chair next to you dissolves, throwing up spumes of noxious gas. Your beast screams inside your brain, as if it were summoned by flames. Your iron will allows you to master your fear, but you still don't dare approach her to attack, not with so much unnatural acid dripping from her fingers. How could he? Dr. Call screams, her face scrunched up in a fury. I've done everything for him! She turns and a wave of corrosive blood blackens the reader, filling the room with the stink of burning plastic. Her garnet ring flashes with thaumaturgic power. Oh god! Ooh! Blood sorcery versus blood sorcery. Hey now. Let's see here. Yes, Vosseros, the thing about that is, that cannot be used against humans, level 1 and V5. Yeah, the acidic vitae. What you're thinking about is like Scorpion's Touch, I believe. Alright, Dex and Athletics, that's not happening. Resolve and Academics, potentially. Let's look at what we've got. Strength and Leadership is not going to happen. Okay, Strength. Oh, I have a Strength of 2. Okay, so I got 4 there. Composure plus Persuasion or Leadership. Ooh. Okay, I've got 5 to work there. Wits ain't not happening. Resolve and Academics. 5. Oh, man. Okay, it's another 5. If you diablerize an elder, why are you still weaker than your sire? Because, Lilani, how diablery works is a lot of people think that if you just Diablerize an Elder, you're going to gain all their powers and everything like that. It's actually not. It's less than that. How Diablerie worked in previous editions of ETM, I'm not exactly sure. I haven't read the exact system in 5th edition. I figure it's similar. But you had the chance to learn some abilities that you never had before, and your generation just goes down 1. So if you're like a 13th generation vampire, somehow you're able to Diablerize like a 7th gen, your generation only goes down 1 level. Diablerie is not one of those quick roads to power. You have to keep on Diablerizing older and more powerful kindred in order to get closer and closer and closer to Cain. So. And there's always a chance that something will go wrong. Okay, guys. From what I'm seeing here, we can go ahead and talk her down. We can stay calm and polite. Or we can just say, I'm going to use my magic against her. Blood sorcery against blood sorcery. I kind of want to go blood sorcery versus blood sorcery. Yeah, magic fight. Right out of Harry Potter. Let's do it. Blood sorcery. And we're dead. NVIDIA made sure you never lacked for self-defense, and with a quick flick of your fingers and a whispered word of Latin, you match her new sorcery against your own archaic spell. The collision of occult energy knocks you both backward, but you keep your feet, and Call's acid vanishes with a thunderclap and a puff of noxious gas. Your sire flies back into a floor-to-ceiling window, and corrosive vitae stops leaking from beneath her fingernails. She stares at you, stares at the slimy heap that had once been her blood doll, Sonam, and collapses onto the nearest chair that's still in one piece. Was I always like this, Wretch? Vani and the occultist are plastered against the far wall, unwilling to approach your sire. See, I could have talked her down, and then I wouldn't have had to spend blood, but I like the fact that with that showing of power, we've shown her how much that we've advanced, if that makes any sense. A moment later, the door flies open, and Giselle, the witch, strides in, long red hair streaming out behind her. She shed her green cardigan, revealing the ritual scars on her wrists. What happened? She says, her eyes narrowing dangerously at you even as she moves protectively toward NVIDIA. You recognize that desperate eagerness to please and protect. It's true, then. Call is blood-bound a witch. I made a mistake, Giselle, your sire says, her tone bleak. Sonam is dead. She seems to remember your presence. Oh, Wretch, this is Giselle. She came to kill me for stealing her witchcraft, and I bound her. Now she loves me. Funny, isn't it? Don't say it like that, Giselle says, tucking a black lock behind NVIDIA's ear. I want to be here. I want to learn from you. Of course you do, the Tremere says. Her tone of contempt is more acidic than her fingernails. Clean up this mess, Giselle. I should put in an appearance at the party. Make up some likely story to tell people. I know how you love explaining this sort of thing. So, Vani asked NVIDIA a half hour later in her private office. What are we going to do? She's on Call's desk, sitting on her hands to prevent them from shaking. Return to the party, your sire says. She strips out of her sooty dress with the brusque efficiency that you've seen her use to skin a cadaver, wipes herself down with a sponge, and lets Vani hand her a slip, followed by a red and black kimono. But first, Wretch, I need to deal with you, your sire says. You will remain at Kiowa Xenogenetics until I have composed a response to Prince Leto. Don't speak. She holds up her hand, and the garnet ring flashes dangerously. And don't worry. My response won't be a bomb I ask you to carry back. But I need time to find a way to accommodate Prince Leto's orders. Until then, you stay. Vani, show my child to his room. Your things, minus your sword, arrive in your room a few minutes after you do. It's a large, well-appointed, windowless chamber that feels like a prison cell despite the comfortable furnishings. Vani hands you a keycard. You're not a prisoner, she says. She bites her lip and says, and if you need anything. She hands you her business card, with a number on it. You must have made an impression. Perhaps you've even made an ally. Then she hurries back down the hall. It looks like you're going to be here for a few nights while NVIDIA crafts a response to Prince Leto. On the first night, you acquire a map of the facility intended for new hires and note interesting areas. Incinerator, organic slurry processing chambers 1 through 4, main security, but large sections of the map are blank. You'll have to explore on your own to get a feel for this place. So this is where the slurm is made. How old's our character? I think about middle-aged. I'd say about 50 or so, if I recall. Oh man, there's a lot to do here. Holy crap. Alright. Hey, Vassaros, is this very similar to the, like the Princess Court? We got a limited amount of things that we can do. We like each make a day, I would assume. Because we only have a few days. Into technology, resolve an investigation. Let's see. Yes, the snow room does intrigue me because winter is coming. Stark intensifies. Or as they said in Game of Thrones, Stark. Always focus fire on what matters to you. You never know when choices are limited. Yeah, that's true. So first thing we're going to do, I think we're going to put our scientific education to good use and try to learn more about the snow room and Dr. Call's cloning work. So that's some int in technology. Actually, what's our food situation at right now? Okay, our hunger is at 2. We didn't rouse any additional... Well, yeah, we did actually. We lost our hunger because we fed, and then one of the blood dolls got his head melted. These things happen. Moonyan, thank you very much for using those 20,000 grid coins for a $5 extra life donation. I will go ahead and take care of that at the end of the stream here for VTM. Thank you so much. Okay. So we'd actually have to use blood sorcery to deal with the defenses. Dominate. Okay, int and tech. Int and tech. No, the zombie skittles start tomorrow. You head into the spill zone to chat with the scientist who might know more about exactly what Dr. Call is up to. You can't charm these people, but you might be able to convince them that you know what you're talking about and get them to drop some hints. You quickly impress the medical scientists, technicians, and fringe theorists who make up Dr. Call's secret research team. Though they're careful not to reveal anything that will get them into trouble, you follow the most senior researchers, including Dr. Takahashi. Your plan? To figure out where the snow room is. Between publicly available maps, your own footwork, and tracking the scientists based on their specialties, you soon find yourself standing in front of the huge hangar-like door that leads to what can only be the snow room. You spend a few minutes recording every scrap of information you can, from the model numbers of the HVAC equipment, to the brands of the biomedical waste you find in a plastic trash bin outside, to the thaumaturgical runes carved on the floor and ceiling. Now, how the hell can you get inside, with 5 clusters of cameras always pointed at the door and armed guards stationed at the intersections? You're forced to retreat as a guard patrol appears, but you have everything you need except the door code. You spend the rest of the night running searches based on information you've gathered. As you scan Google Scholar, JSTOR, and parts of the darknet that cater to the intersection of criminality and the occult, you start to piece together what Dr. Call is doing. Cloned cell samples, modified vitae, xenogenetics, cryogenic preservation, necromancy. She's making clones. Not human or animal clones. Not living clones at all. With vitae and thaumaturgy and whatever kind of magic that witch of hers can work, Dr. Call is cloning dead tissue. She's cloning vampires. What a twist! Alright. Charisma and leadership, huh? Charisma 3. Leadership, okay, that's 5. That should be good. Maybe get a bite before we try anything else. Well, it looks like some of this stuff is actually no longer available to us. So let's go ahead and see if we can get Vani as a long-term ally. And then maybe we can get some blood. You track Vani down at the elegant cafe that serves one of KXG's 3 on-site restaurants. She's sipping a cappuccino and reviewing employee performance data when you appear, she smiles and turns her tablet off. "Wretch, isn't it?" she says. "I've been watching you." She still looks a little wild-eyed after Dr. Calm's tantrum the other night, or Dr. Call's, but she's no longer shaking. "Have you enjoyed your work with Dr. Call?" you ask. Then slowly, over the course of an hour or so, you lead Vani away from Dr. Call, with her creepy fondness for mortals that compensates for her sudden and explosive rages, toward you. Invidia was always an organizer, but she was never much of a natural leader. By the end of the hour, Vani's eyes are shining as she looks at you. "I'm going to be leaving soon," you say. "If Dr. Call lets me." You know when to get out of a conversation. You thank Vani for her time, leave the offer there, and head back to your room. You have an ally here now, and possibly later. You consider the medium term. What can you do with a scientist and administrator? Dare you consider the creation of a ghoul? The possibility intrigues you. Your lifestyle left no room for servants, but maybe it's time to establish a real base of power. Whoops. Okay, well, no chance for food now. That's okay, though. We're not horrible. The next night, someone knocks on your door moments after the sun sets. Giselle is standing in the doorway. She looks pale and ragged, and her long green cardigan is dark with blood where it clings to her wrists. She looks like she's been crying. "Dr. Call wants to see you," she says. "Clean yourself up. You have 10 minutes. From the tone of her voice, you suspect this might be your final night at Kiowa Xenogenetics. You grab everything you have, including your suitcase, and check your exits in case you have to move fast. You know you've been closely watched for several nights and that the security staff is ready in case you try to make a run for it. The only good news is that Giselle looks terrible. As you head into the spill zone, you pass Vani, who gives you the slightest nod. You must have made an impression on her. She's willing to help you out. You're led, not to her office, but deeper into the facility, until you reach the huge steel hangar-like door of the snow room. You permit yourself a self-satisfied smile. Your investigations have already revealed as much as anyone could learn about this place without actually going inside. And now it looks like you're going inside. This is the snow room. Oh, excuse me. This is the snow room, Giselle says, her voice tired. She glances at you out of the corner of her eye, but you just shrug as if you have no idea what it is. It's where Dr. Call and I conduct our research on how to mimic and emulate vampiric flesh. I keep my mouth shut. I really want to see what my sire has been brewing in here. The door opens silently despite its size, and a blast of cold air hits you. Cold can't hurt you unless you freeze solid, but you're still close enough to life that you find the sensation viscerally unpleasant. Giselle, her normally haughty demeanor gone, shrinks away from the cold air. When the door closes again, she's on the other side of it. Not sure exactly where to go, you pass through a cold room full of brushed steel tanks and attached to thick tubes, electrical cables, and laptops propped open on folding metal desks. The next room resembles a meat locker, except the carcasses hung from iron chains aren't cows or pigs, and neat grids delineate the walls and floor. You use what you already know about the snow room to help you memorize everything you see. Everything you remember here is worth more than gold to Julian. Dr. Call is waiting toward the back of the next chamber. She's wearing a plain black lab coat with X or KXG on the lapel. Here, the grid-like order of the rooms breaks down, replaced by mounds of dirty brown snow that slowly merge with the icy walls. Overhead, fans drive sub-zero air down onto the snow. "Good evening, Wretch," your sire says. "I've thought long and hard about Prince Leteau's message, and I think I have a solution. I want you to destroy me." So you can be what? Reborn? Now I'm a little curious. Dark resurrections are cool. Nothing so melodramatic. This is politics, not metaphysics. Call picks her way over the dirty snow. After a moment, she reaches elbow deep into it and hauls out a naked woman who stares at you blankly. With her face slack instead of animated, you barely recognize NVIDIA Call. The real Call gets the corpse clone into a lab coat. The clone's feet are black with blood and decorated with Giselle's runes. No wonder the witch could barely stand. When the Camarilla banned most forms of electronic communication, the real Dr. Call says, Clan Tremere thought it could just build an occult network, but that was hacked too. That's how Giselle found me. She and I are good friends now, of course, but it was clear to me that thaumaturgy invented centuries ago was as vulnerable as any old and unsecured communication protocol. My original plan was to use my clones as couriers, both in the normal fashion and by encoding them with information that could be read through genome analysis. But they never quite worked, and well, it seems Prince Leteau disagrees with my work here anyway. She takes a moment to master her rage, and then goes on. You're familiar with the Second Inquisition, Wretch? How do we want to go about this? Organized hunters. They show up when we act like monsters. Organized, professional, competent. But not all hunters are like that.
Some are dangerous buffoons who are in over their heads. A group like that attacked me the last time I left my facility. I killed most of them, but a few got away, and they're still looking for me. I'd like to give myself to them." She gestures to her clone. "Once everyone thinks I've been destroyed, I'll have time to transfer my research elsewhere, away from Leto. We're self-funding now. I don't need him." You glance around at the room. It's just you, Dr. Call, the half-buried clones, and a few technicians up on the balcony around you. Icy pipes run out a massive tank on the far wall, an elaborate coolant system surrounded by warning signs. Huge chains dangle from the ceiling, their purpose unclear. The doors nearby are locked. Your sire watches you impassively.
See, the thing is, like, you can trick Leto. It's underestimating the prince. I think that's something that the prince wouldn't even see coming. You know what I mean? Especially now that we know what exactly she's doing. Like, what she's doing is rather unprecedented. Yeah, I agree. I do like the first option.
This might sound mercenary, but what's in it for me? That depends on what you want, Invidia says. Enough blood to get you home, obviously. And money, if you'd like. I can also continue your lessons. And if neither hold knowledge nor money appeal, what about this? She holds up her garnet ring. It holds Vitae. Giselle and I are forging a better version. That may be the end of poor Giselle, but she's mostly lost her powers anyway.
So, because thaumaturgy's kind of been powered down in this version of VTM, like stuff like that, like rings or trinkets, like stones you could have blood in, was a normal thing in thaumaturgy. Not anymore. Like stuff like that has kind of gone back into, from like a blue quality item to like a purple quality item. You sit back and consider your options. Your sire is probably right that the vampire hunters aren't that dangerous unless you make a mistake. Your biggest concern is the Prince of Tucson. Your relationship with the traditions of the Camarilla is complex and sometimes ambiguous, and Prince Leto's relationship to you seems equally uncertain. It would be a shame to turn that ambiguous relationship into a hostile one. And Leto is no fool. He'll learn the truth eventually. On the other hand, eventually is not the same as now. Right now, you're in the heart of your sire's territory, and you know she'll not take refusal well. Oh wow, there's a lot that we could do here. So we can get cash. We're already getting $1,000 for completing this. So out of these options, I want to go for either some teaching in thaumaturgy or blood sorcery, or the ring. Yeah, teaching or the ring. Should we roll a dice to see what we choose? I think it's good either way, to tell you the truth. Because that ring is a really good, like, oh god, I need blood moment, but at the same time, blood sorcery is blood sorcery. Vasaros took the money. Lonnie says teaching. Man. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and roll, because I think this is good either way. So we'll go even, blood sorcery, odds, the ring. Knowledge is the power. Man. Because knowledge is power. Thank you, Schoolhouse Rock. But artifacts. Shinies. Here's a thought: that ring may be synonymous with your sire. Showing up to Leto with it could be problematic if the writer's smart. It could also be a sign that she's dead, though. But I see your point, Phosphorus. I mean, how many times are we going to find someone who's going to increase our blood magic rating? You know what I mean? I might be willing to help you. If you're willing to teach me again. Are you?
I am. We can conduct the transaction right now, if you'd like.
I'll help you. But you have to further my mastery of the dark arts. Secrets are more valuable than a distant prince's will, and that is so Tremere it hurts. That's glittery with magic, that's so Tremere. Achievement: Bloodleech. Feed from another vampire. Invidia is always squeamish, and she doesn't look happy as she removes her lab coat and rolls up her sleeve.
Get it over with,
she says. You hesitate for just a moment. You've only tasted her blood once, right? When she embraced you? Because a third taste of any vampire's blood can bind you to them forever. No, it was only one taste. You drink. Invidia makes a little uncomfortable sound as you take just enough to understand how she has changed since you last saw her. Then you lick her wrist shut and stand up.
Awful,
she says with a little shudder.
But now your real studies can begin.
Your real studies consist of a syllabus, 30 pages, and a trunk full of books, 35,000 pages.
Are you disappointed, my child?
She says with a little laugh.
Were you expecting something more mystical? A bolt of cosmic enlightenment? A conversation with your holy guardian angel who would reveal the answers you seek?
She bangs the trunk as technicians get ready to load it into your car.
Get reading.
I'm okay with that. Invidia smiles, a dazzling expression that ripples across her face and momentarily makes her look like a real person, not an animated corpse. But then her heavy brows knit together in thought.
This will take careful timing, she says. Ideally, here's what will happen. IC-12 here gets into your car, so it looks like I'm going to Tucson to speak directly to Prince Leto. I will drive to where the vampire hunters are staying. I know several Camarilla fronts between here and Tucson. When we reach one, you text me with a number that corresponds to where you are, and then Real Me tells the vampire hunters where you are. You stop to get gas. They show up. You peel out, leaving IC-12 vulnerable. They burn her to ash. Since you're at a Camarilla front, at least one of Prince Leto's retainers witnesses my destruction. You've tangled with hunters before, so you and Invidia go over every possible detail and angle of approach until late into the night. Invidia also offers you some of her other occultists for feeding. By the next evening, you're full of vitae and ready to go. Your sire returns your sword, and slips a positively antique burner phone into your front pocket. Text me when you find a good place, she says. I need to prepare a good disguise so I can meet the hunters.
I'm still not happy with how little I know about this plan. I'm not getting dusted for my sire.
You've wandered the highways for too long if you fear a van full of scrub hunters, Call says. Consider this a learning opportunity and a chance to hone your skills.
Call disappears to make plans. IC-12 isn't much of a conversationalist, but she can follow basic instructions and even recite a few rote sentences. Okay, that's a lot more advanced than I thought it was going to be. You stick a pair of cheap sunglasses on her face so no one notices her vacant stare. When you pass the Shell station where you dropped off your old phone, you see that it's been burnt to the ground. Julian is playing a dangerous game. And now you are too. An hour outside Tucson, in a place called Mescal, you spot an eagle circling overhead. You can't tell if it's Riga, but from the overcrowded look of the nearby mobile home park, you know that the kindred are active here. You pull into one of the 24-hour gas station your sire believes Prince Leteau monitors, a rundown quick mart between an upscale residential neighborhood and those mobile homes. The woods, dividing the communities, are full of concertina wire to keep people on their side of the line. You send a text to Dr. Call. 8. This is the 8th of 23 locations you and she planned on. She'll pass the message along to the vampire hunters who have already been alerted to your movement in the area. Then all you have to do is shove IC-12 out of the passenger door and get out. This is a good location. The garage near the gas station belongs to Prince Leteau, and another one you passed a mile back has the Karambit logo of one of Julian Sim's companies. You noticed it on your way here. 2 defensible locations within a few miles isn't bad. You park the BMW in an out-of-the-way spot and get IC-12 outside so you don't lose the car if someone blows her up with surplus military weaponry. Then you circle the Quick Mart on foot, checking for ways out of town both in your car and on foot. When you get back within sight of your car, you spot a black Econoline van rolling slowly through the Quick Mart parking lot. Off-road light bar, rear winch, tinted windows. Those are hunters. They park and 4 men hop out of the back of the truck armed with a mix of shotguns and machetes. Good weapons for putting vampires down. The driver is the last to exit. Like the others, she's wearing body armor, and her neck is conspicuously protected by an iron collar. These aren't frightened amateurs. Still, when they spot IC-12 and start closing in, you realize that Dr. Call's plan is working. They'll be able to surround and destroy her without difficulty, and you have a clear path back to your car. Then all 5 hunters drop in less than a second. A moment later, IC-12 falls with something in her back that looks like a sparkler. She screams once as the hissing white sparkler flares. Then it burns her to ash. The next shot hits you dead center. You're slammed against the chain link fence. On your knees, you hear the hiss of a flare igniting. You look down and realize that it's hit the burner phone NVIDIA gave you. You wrench it out of your front pocket, fighting your terrified beast, and hurl it away. A second later, it explodes in a shower of white sparks, momentarily blinding you. You hear radio chatter as white sparks dance before your eyes. Primary target eliminated. Irregulars removed. Engaging secondary target now. Okay, guys. So, bit of a twist. And it looks like we are going to be in a bit of a spot of bother at the beginning of the next stream. So we're going to go ahead and end it here on a little bit of a cliffhanger. And hopefully Wretch will be able to get out of it at the beginning of the next stream. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. I hope you're enjoying the series so far. I certainly am. Thank you to everyone in the chat, especially Vassaros, for, the helpful hints. It's always good to have that. No, darn you, cliffhanger. I like to think that Vassaros is me taking the common sense merit. So, yeah, if you guys haven't followed the Twitch channel, please do so. I try and stream on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, random times in between. And if you're watching the replay of this on YouTube, I have a link to the Twitch channel in the description below, as well as a link to my Extra Life page, where I'm raising money for my local Children's Miracle Network hospital via the incredible Extra Life charity. So check that out if you feel so inclined. Like, share, subscribe. You guys know the drill there. And we will see you next time. Later days, everyone.